sweet desserts. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whichever one it is for you. My name is John Michael. Here at the Context is Everything Media Network. When I'm looking this way, that means I'm looking at myself because I'm self-involved. And if I'm looking this way, that means I'm looking at you. This is What's Under Your Hood, episode 4, where I'm reading as if I'm a teacher who's unprepared for the lesson through this textbook. So about 20 minutes an episode reading through the textbook. We're here on day 3, or day 4 rather, starting on page 32 in chapter 2, section 2. Starting to get good. Didn't have a homework question from yesterday because it was getting good right when time ran out. And I figured I'm not going to ask questions about stuff I don't find interesting because I'm not going to remember the answer. All right. The Rosetta Stone. We're talking about ancient Egypt. Portrait of Queen, what's her face? Nefertiti. So this is where we are. Give a little context if you want to know what year we're looking at. Just look up when Queen Nefertiti was around. The Rosetta Stone. After the New Kingdom declined, Egyptians forgot the meaning of ancient... Part of the intrigue of this book is that this book was published in September of 2001 for the school year. Meaning this history book, world history, is taken from a different perspective than would be published today. And this is not a criticism or a critique. This is a simple statement of fact. The world was different, and let's read through the lens of a different world. How about that? The Rosetta Stone. After the New Kingdom declined, Egyptians forgot the meaning of their ancient hieroglyphics. I should plug my computer in to charge while this is going, right? Yes, I should. Pardon. Sorry about the delay, folks. But, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And in this case, I need to plug this into the computer. Done deal. Charging. I don't look like it's charging. The Context is Everything network of shows. This is a media network here, so just follow along. You get a couple other shows. Clueless DIY, where I try to fix things, and probably 45% of the time break them beyond repair, and probably another 50% of the time fix them with some serious design flaws, and 5% of the time I do it right, do a good job. Maybe a little exaggerated there. Either way, really killing time here. 3 minutes and 35 seconds. What have I said? Sorry, I haven't talked about Queen Nefertiti. The Rosetta Stone. Ancient Egypt. After the New Kingdom declined, Egyptians forgot the meaning of ancient hieroglyphics. Not until the early 1800s did French scholar Jean Champollion unravel the mysterious writing on Egypt's great monuments. Champollion managed to decipher, that's a vocabulary word, or decode the Rosetta Stone. This flat black stone has the same message carved in 3 different forms of script: hieroglyphics, Demotic, and Greek. By comparing the 3 versions, Champollion patiently worked out the meanings of many hieroglyphic symbols. As a result of the breakthrough, scholars could begin to read in the thousands of surviving records from ancient Egypt. So you're telling me that what the Rosetta Stone was a slab of rock. Let's say this, just so it fits in the frame. This is the slab of rock. It's this big, size of the frame. So you have a slab of rock sectioned off into 3 sections. So if I were to have a piece of paper, I would roll it in a circle and then fold it to have even section 1, even section 2, even section 3. I'm thinking landscape paper. Wide view. 1 section, 2 section, 3 section. Top section, hieroglyphics, Egyptian. Second section, Demotic. Never heard of it. Third section, Greek, which we can still translate because people still speak it. So what you're telling me is the Rosetta Stone had these 3 things on it, 3 languages, and they're inferring, making an educated guess, that this Greek is the same as this hieroglyphic, so that they're going to translate line by line what each thing means, what each, like the little bird and the Illuminati eye and yada 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 and this, that, the other, what that translates to in the Greek side. Pretty interesting, if that's what the Rosetta Stone is, because that's all they have to say about it. Advances in medicine and science. The ancient Egyptians accumulated a vast store of knowledge in fields such as medicine, astronomy, mathematics. They were practical people. When they had a problem, they used trial and error to find solutions. Same with me here on Context is Everything network of shows. I'll be doing Clueless DIY. That's Clueless Do It Yourself, wherein I try to fix something without knowing how to use the tools. Really dangerous. I'm not joking. I make poor decisions regularly. I guess the point is to stop making poor decisions, but trial and error, just like the ancient Egyptians. Like most doctors, until recent times, Egyptian physicians believed in various kinds of magic. Yet through their knowledge of mummification, they learned about the human body. They also became skilled at observing symptoms, diagnosing illnesses, and finding cures. Doctors performed complex surgical operations, which they described on papyrus scrolls. Many medicines that Egyptian doctors prescribed are still used, including anise, castor beans, and saffron risotto. Egyptian priest astronomers, that's priest/astronomers, studied the heavens, mapping constellations and charting the movements of planets. With this knowledge, they developed a calendar that had 12 months, 30 days, and days each, and 5 days added at the end of each year. With a few changes, this ancient Egyptian calendar became the basis of the modern calendar we use today. Nile floods, they're not going to mention that the knowledge of the stars showed itself in the building of the Great Pyramid of Giza. That's right. I pronounce it with a TH, because I think it sounds pretentious. And I feel like a know-it-all would say it like that. And I'm very self-involved, so I might be a know-it-all myself. The Great Pyramid of Giza. I don't like it when people do the Spanish accent if they're not from Spain and they do the th. Pronounce things with a th, you know? Type in Spaniards speaking Spanish on YouTube and listen to the theta, I believe it's called. And it's like in the middle of the word, instead of an S sound, when there's an S, they do th. And it's fine for them. I mean, that's how they talk. They have the rhythm for it. But when like a gringo, and me, I'm not a great Spanish speaker. I can get by. But if I were to start using the TH in the middle of the word, for one thing, I would feel like I must be making a joke. And two, I think it reflects poorly on somebody because it makes them sound like pretentious, like they're acting. And I don't like when people are acting in real life. And if they are, at least try to be funny. Don't try to be extra serious, you know? I agree with that statement. I feel like they should have talked about, see, these priest astronomers that study the skies, map the heavens and the constellations and the movements of the stars. They didn't mention that they lined up the sun on the summer solstice or something with the exact point of the Pyramid of Giza. So this is the point of the Pyramid of Giza. I'm pointing with my thumb here. And the sun sets directly at exactly that point without any variation on the solstice. They didn't mention that, which seems kind of interesting. Something that I would listen to as a student and be like, what? How weird is that? Nile floods forced Egyptians to redraw the boundaries of fields each year. To do this, they developed practical geometry to survey the lands. Egyptian engineers also used geometry to calculate the exact size and location of each block of stone to be placed in the pyramids or temples. Huge building projects such as pyramids and irrigation systems required considerable skills and design and engineering, and potentially the help of giants. Arts and literature. The Egyptians left a rich legacy of art and literature. Statues, paintings, poems, and tales have given us a wealth of information about ancient Egyptian attitudes and values. Painting and sculpture. Yeah. The arts of ancient Egypt included statues, wall paintings in tombs, and carvings on temples. Some show everyday scenes of trade, farming, family life, or religious ceremonies. Others boast of the victories of battle. Painting styles remain almost unchanged for thousands of years. The pharaohs and gods were always much larger than other human figures. Artists usually drew people with their heads and limbs in profile, but their eyes and shoulders facing the viewer. Like that. Wait. Eyes and shoulders? So they're standing like this, but their eyes and shoulders are facing that way, directly at you. But they're standing sideways. No, they're standing sideways, so they're standing like that. But they're... Right. Okay, that's this guy, right? This guy? Right, so his shoulders and his eyes are facing forward, but his legs are going that way. Proof. Statues often depicted people in stiff, standard poses. Some human figures have animal heads that represent special qualities. The Great Sphinx that crouches near the Pyramid of Giza portrays the early pharaoh as a powerful lion. Besides the pyramids, Egyptians erected their great buildings. The magnificent temple of Ramses II, Karnak contains the vast hall with towering 80-foot columns. Much later, the Romans would adopt building techniques that, thousands used at Karnak. What's his name? Johnny Carson. Karnak. Egyptian literature. The oldest literature of the ancient Egypt includes hymns and prayers to the gods, proverbs and love poems, other writings that tell of royal victories in battle, or the instructions of Ptah-hotep, giving practical advice. Yada yada yada, da 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 da. Looking ahead, long after the power declined, Egypt remained the center of learning and culture in African and Mediterranean worlds. They retained economic importance and a source of grain and other riches. In later ages, new Egyptian cities like Alexandria and Cairo would attract scholars, traders, and other visitors. Yet from ancient times to today, foreigners have gazed in awe at the monuments of a culture that flourished for 3,000 years. I think that we can debate the time span of their reign to be a little longer than 3,000. Maybe the Egyptians themselves, it was 3,000, but there seems to be compelling evidence nowadays that there have been complex societies in that region of the world, Nile, Euphrates. I believe 13,000 years is what they're saying nowadays, based off of discoveries, one of which being the water erosion on the Sphinx, indicating that the water erosion on the Sphinx indicating that there was water there. And if water was at the Sphinx, which is a desert, right? Cairo, Egypt, desert, dry desert, Mario Kart. If there's water erosion on the bottom, that means there was water there, and water hasn't been there for quite some time, as I understand it. I think that is kind of throws a little bit of doubt in the 3,000 year duration of their reign, or at least of its existence as like a cultural hub. Maybe it wasn't called Egypt; it was called something else. I don't know. I have no idea. Also, Library of Alexandria, one of my most interesting topics. I don't know anything about it except for the basics, but it is interesting because what it was like the internet. But imagine if the internet burned to the ground without any evidence. You'd be like, wait, what happened? Right, you wouldn't have any evidence of what happened in the past. Well, you'd only have written records. What the Library of Alexandria was a book repository with all of the important knowledge of the era. Think about like a really nice museum, but like under lock and key, stuff that's important, documents that are important for eons. This is where we'll put all of them because we're a great power. We're going to use the Library of Alexandria, and a couple of hundred years later, in battle, got burnt to the ground. And so there's a lot of mysteries that are gone to flame. And I think one of those mysteries might be that the Egyptians were second to Egypt in terms of advanced civilizations. But what do I know? I'm just parroting something that I've heard. But it is something that was not talked about in 2001. That's the point of what's under your hood here. We have 1 minute and 16 seconds left, and we're at the end of this chapter, which is here. These are questions. Let's see if there's any ones that I think are good. I'm not crazy about these questions. I'm not crazy about asking about science and innovation because I feel like that's information that is subject to change in the past 20 years. I'm not going to do any research to see what's changed, but 24 seconds, I got to think of something quick. The bell's about to ring. And there's a bell. What social classes existed in ancient Egypt? What rights do women have? That doesn't particularly interest me as like a long, like as like the question that I'll talk about tomorrow. 5 seconds. Crap. Describe 3 achievements of ancient Egypt in arts and learning. I guess that's the one. Describe 3 achievements of ancient Egypt in arts and learning. This is John Michael Monroy here. Context is Everything Media Network. Context is Everything Studios here in Manasquan, New Jersey. And I'm happy to come to you with here episode 4 of What's Under Your Hood. Time's up. Question: describe 3 achievements of ancient Egyptians in the arts and learning. That's right.